Visiting now Poltava Air and Space Museum. It was organized in 1988 by academician Valentin Petrovich Glushko. He worked in Moscow, but he wanted in Poltava to create a museum connected with Yuri Kondratyuk. I think you heard about this engineer, and I will tell you about him later. So, Valentin Petrovich gave to our museum our first exhibit, and you can see it here. It is a model of the first artificial satellite launched in 1957, in October 10th. It was the first step of the Soviet Union into space, and actually this year opened the whole era of spacecrafting in the whole world. So you can see this sphere, it is empty inside, and it had only a radio transmitter and 4 aerials. You can see 2 of them here and other 2. It sent signals from the Earth's orbit. And in 92 days it was burnt in atmosphere. It was launched from the Cosmonautic Baikonur. It is in Kazakhstan. Now it is rented by Russian Federation. Generally, you probably know that there are more than 30 cosmodromes, but only 16 of them are still in active usage. Ukraine doesn't have its cosmodrome. It has a project situated, it's a sea cosmodrome situated on the equator of our Earth. It is called a sea launch. So 4 countries, the United States of America, Norway, Russia and Ukraine, organized this cosmodrome. You can see the photo of it. It's 2 Norway platforms which were used for getting oil, and our Ukrainian rocket carrier Zenit, which is produced in Dnipropetrovsk. Every year there are near 12 launches from this cosmodrome, but it's a big question if it's economical one, because of a lot of costs for getting the whole equipment into the equator. Now look at the ceiling. It is a fragment of Starry Sky Atlas. It was made by Johann Gebelius in 1690, the end of the 17th century. He combined, he created 88 constellations, but you can see here on this fragment, and he included into his atlas the 12 signs of zodiacs. So it was the first atlas. And in this corner you can see the presents to our museum and some souvenirs. Another corner is also with souvenirs to our museum. If you have questions, you may ask. If not, let's go to the second hall. Connected with our city or our region. So the first person who we are talking about it is Alexander Zasyatko. He was born at the end of the 18th century. He was the officer in the Russian army, and actually he was a very talented military engineer. He participated in war against the Napoleon at the beginning of the 19th century, and actually he saw different military equipment of European armies, and he decided to design the first missiles in the Russian army. So you can see the models of these missiles. The first one is fire missile. It was for buildings, and also a high explosive missile for people. Later, these missiles could reach the target into the distance of 3,000 meters, and later these missiles were put on the boards. Okay, now look to the ceiling. You can see the model of the first plane designed by Alexander Możajski. It was in 1883. He made the plane from wooden with two cast iron engines, and it was covered with sackcloth. When this plane should start, it even couldn't fly because of these cast iron engines. They were much more heavier than the whole plane. Unfortunately, Możajski didn't have enough money to continue his work, and it was like the end. The first people who flew into the sky, you know, they were brothers Wright, 1903, but another brothers who were born in Poltava region, brothers Kasyanenko, they could construct the airplane similar to plane of brothers Wright. You can see on the right picture. But unfortunately, they didn't have enough money for building these planes. Only in 10 years, it's 1910, they built their planes. Now turn around. You can see here it is this corner is devoted to Gleb Kotelnikov, a person who designed the main principle for modern parachute. The parachutes existed before, but they were similar construction like that, and it was practically impossible to use when it was needed. So Kotelnikov designed a parachute made from a very light textile, actually from satin, and also he suggested this parachute to put into a parachute bag, which we have actually now. He got the license in 1912, and actually the parachute was started to use in France, unfortunately, not in Russian Empire. Actually, speaking about Gleb Kotelnikov, he lived in Poltava for several years. He was a very talented engineer, and also he wrote plays, he wrote music, and actually he was an actor. And even there is a legend that this profession, that he was an actor, helped him to understand how to put the whole parachute into a parachute bag. He saw an actress who put her scarf into a little purse. So it was like the idea for this parachute. Now, if you don't have questions, let's go to the next one. There is a photo of him. He was born in 1897 in Poltava in this little house. It is still exists. You can see the photos of his parents, but unfortunately he became an orphan very early, and he was grown up by his grandparents. Also, he was christened in our cathedral in the center of Poltava, and also you can see the fragment of his study. Actually, you can see the sketches of his first works, and also the book which he loved to read. Also, you can see the photos from his school years. He studied at Poltava Man Gymnasium, and in 1916 he went to Petrograd and started learning there. But unfortunately, because of the First World War, he studied only 2 months, and that was the whole his education. In 1929, he wrote the book, which was called The Meaning of Interplanetary Spaces, where he wrote his main ideas. And some of the ideas you can see here. It's a polystage rocket, which is launched vertically, solar batteries, the chest position of fuel burners in the spaceship engine, also a special space seat where a cosmonaut sits under the angle of 16 degrees, which helps him to feel okay during the accelerative forces. Now look at this scheme. This is Kondratyuk's idea how to fly to the moon, which was used by Americans in 1969. So the rocket starts, imagine from the Cape Canaveral, and at the beginning it becomes like a satellite, and then it goes to the side of the moon, where it will wait for the moon for 3 days. Then, now you see, then it goes around the moon, and from the main ship, the lunar module goes with 2 astronauts into the lunar surface, and the main ship keep going around the moon, and then after doing all the work, the lunar module goes back to the mothership, and they all come back together to the Earth. It was only the idea of Kondratyuk. Of course, he never tried his ideas in practice, but it became a very good foundation for Americans in 1969. Also, was the whole Crimea island, but unfortunately this project was closed and only the foundation was made. It is still on the Alpetri mountain in the Crimea. And also when the Second World War started, he went to the front, and he was as a messenger on the front, and here you can see the things which were used by messengers: the helmet, bobbin, and a telephone. And he died in 1942, and unfortunately we don't know any information about how he died and where his grave is. So, do you have any questions? In 23 by Nikolai Magnitsky. In those times, people could use planes like this one. There were only 2 passenger seats, and it was pretty expensive. It cost the ticket cost was 20 rubles. It was a very big price. Also, in Poltava, at the late 20s, there was a parachute school where people are trained to jump with parachutes. Here you can see the equipment from the plane Tu-16. Optical sight, the solver, the remote for dropping bombs, a wheel, also a television sight, and also you can see here the parts of handheld airfield, which was used during the Second World War when our airfield was destroyed completely, and for planes to land, for getting better, it was used, actually it was the idea of American soldiers, and it was used actively. Also, after the Second World War, in Poltava, they were based jet fighters, and you can see the models of two of them. And we have the museum now at the Poltava airfield, where you can go into these planes. Unfortunately, they were destroyed because in 1994, Ukraine became
proliferation treaty.
I'm sorry, I forgot the word. The country which doesn't need a weapon.
Nuclear.
Yeah, nuclear weapon, thanks. So here you can see the helmets, pilot helmets, which were used during the Second World War and for jet fighters. Okay, Okay, this hall is about Vladimir Chelemy, and all this part of the hall is devoted to him. You can see the photo of Vladimir Chelemy when he was young. He was born in Poland in 1914, but with the beginning of the First World War, his parents moved to Poltava. He actually lived near this building, and he finished school in our city. Then he graduated from the Kyiv Polytechnical University, and later, as he was very talented, he designed this rocket carrier. It is actually still used in Russian Federation. Also, you can see the fragment in reactor factory, and also you can see some of his works, the models of his works. Very interesting model of the missile with wings, and this missile capsule very comfortable, and also you can see the engine from these missiles.
Look here, this is
mortar carrier vehicle. It was called in Russian Katyusha. It was used during the Second World War. The first time it was used in Poltava region, not far from Dikanka, and you can see the monument to this weapon. Why we speak in our museum about this weapon? Because two of designers were from Poltava. It's Mikhailo Kisenko and Yuri Pobedonoscev. They construct this weapon. It had 6 mortar shells, and there were 12 vehicles, and this weapon was the strongest weapon against the German enemy. Okay, let's go to the last one. a space chair for training. In this part there were two parachutes. Also it had two little engines. In this part there were some things for stay alive in case of emergency injection. You can look how it looks from the back side. It's like a little plane. It had a very complicated system, so two engines and some other things. Here you can see the models of Ukrainian rocket carriers, Zenit and Cyclone. Cyclone, it is considered to be the most nature-friendly, but it's a very light rocket, so not all the cargo could be used. Also, the space suit, it is real, it belongs to Cosmonauts. Under this suit, it is usually wear this costume with little pipes for keeping the person's body into normal temperature. You can see the picture how it all works. Here it's the set of equipment for any repairment. It is practically the same as for Earth, except the hammer. It is empty inside in this part, and it has a little little balls, which helps to use this hammer. Also, the set of food. Of course, it's Soviet food, except this ice cream. And you can see the capsule.
What is this case for?
I don't see the flag on it.
For opening the whole ship.
India.
And turn around.
There is a former article to refer to issue.
You can see the model of this plane. Also, you can see here the pressure suit for jet fighters, and some information about the plane. AN-124 Ruslan. It's a Ukrainian plane for cargo. In 1990, they were made the trip around the world, but not around the equator, but from one pole to another pole. It was very dangerous trip. It was 72 hours, and actually it broke now 9 world records. And there was a very interesting story about this plane. When the captain was looking for money to this trip, he didn't have any investors, and one investor from Australia said, "I will give you money, but take my son to your trip." The son was 12 years old, but the captain took this boy. So the boy was the interpreter during the trip, and also he paid all the bills. So such information. Sorry. You can see in the left corner the map of the trip, and see the photo of the international trip, which was in 1997. Our first Ukrainian cosmonaut, Leonid Kadenyuk, flew with the crew of spaceship Columbia, and also, except our Ukrainian cosmonaut, there was an Indian cosmonaut who also participated in the trip, and our Ukrainian cosmonaut worked in space with artificial soil, and he tried to grow spring onion, and he successfully grown it, but he that it wasn't the same taste as on the earth. But of course I don't know and never tried it. We have the present. This present was given us this year by Moscow factory. You can see the model of of a missile, which is called Brahmos, and actually it is made in India.
Okay. Sun TV-க்காக ஸ்ரீகாந்த் முருகேசன் ஸ்ரீகாந்த் மூஞ்ச பாரு. நீ விஜய் டிவிக்காக சொல்லு. விஜய் டிவிக்காக பிரவீன், காளியப்பன் பிரவீன். அவ்வளோ நல்லா இல்ல. ஏன் பழனிசாமி கவின்ராஜ் என்ன டேக் பண்ண முடியும்? அப்படியே பேக்ரவுண்ட் சுத்தி போவிட